Welcome to session 3 of building a Power App. If you've been following along this process, in our session 1 video, we learned how to set up our data sources and how to actually get the Power Apps environment set up. Session 2, we started building the app itself, and now session 3, we're just going to continue building this app, doing a little bit at a time. Now, session 2 video was much longer. It was 50 some odd minutes, I believe. This one is going to be much quicker, a little bit easier to digest. But for the initial setup, it was really impossible not to do a longer video because there's a lot that goes into your initial setup. So if you are wanting to build the app and you have not done session 1 and 2, check out the videos below, get started with them. If you're just here to see how apps are built and you're not really curious about building it on your own, then no need to go and watch those other videos. So what we would do is if we're ready to go and make edits to our app, we would find our app in the home screen, and then we would click on the ellipses, and then from there we would click on edit. Now I've already done that because it takes a while to load once you click on edit, so I didn't want there to be any lag time in this video. So I've already got it pulled up. And here's what we're looking at. We have our app. This app is made up of three different things so far. First, and so over here in our tree view, when we select our objects, it's going to highlight what they are. So I have my label header, which is the Trojan check-in app with the title. We put in a rectangle header as well, that went over. And then we put in a gallery. And what a gallery does is it shows all of your records that you want to see from your actual data source. It's a way of seeing the data, not just in that basic table, but we're actually making some modifications to it. So one of the things that we want to do to start off with is this gallery. It kind of blends in with our background color of the app itself. So I'm going to change the fill color of this gallery. And one of the easiest ways is just going into the home ribbon. I could do fill, and then I could select white. But there's also another, I like to show different ways. With my gallery selected and the control property, if I click on fill, this is the current color that it has for the fill color. If I just start typing in white, then white will be the fill color. So you can just start typing in some of the basic colors that you know instead of going to fill. And if I would have clicked fill, would have gone to white, would have worked the exact same way. All right, so now here's what I want to do next. I'm thinking that the people checking in, the students, they're going to want an easy way to find the names. And scrolling through, and granted, I only have a few students, I think 10 or 11, scrolling through all of them of 1,000 would not be very beneficial. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a search capability to this gallery itself. So what I'm going to do first, just to give myself some room, I'm going to skinny up the gallery just a little bit down here, and I'll extend it down. And I want to put in a search bar up here. So the way that we put in search bars is we're going to come over to the insert ribbon at the top, and then we can click on text, but instead of a text label, it's going to be a text input. Now, the other way to put this text input here is I could have gone to the input control right here and then also selected text input. Either way, they give you the same thing. So here we go. All right, so this is going to be a search bar. Now, in order for someone to really see that it's going to be a search bar, we're going to make it much more in their face. And the first thing that I'm going to do is change this default of text input. So right now up here in the default control, it says text input. I don't want anything to show. I don't want the default text. I don't want default text to be in there at all. So I can just simply get rid of the text input and then hit enter. Now, I could have done that another way, which I want to show. So I'm going to put it back up here. The other way that I would have gotten rid of this text input was over in the properties pane on the right for default where it has text input. So just delete it straight on out. Okay, so we've got that. But now, how do people know that they're supposed to start searching for student names or grade levels or anything here? So we're going to have to do another little modification. So if I come over to the right, I'll do it over on this side, there is this box called hint text. And so this is what you'd put in to kind of give that user to say, hey, this is what you're supposed to do here. So I'm just going to type in search for student. And as I click off of that, now in my search bar, it says search for student. Great. So now there is technically no real text in the background. That's just showing what you're supposed to do. That's the hint text. So let's make some nice modifications to this. This is currently a rectangle, but anytime you want to change the rectangles that you have on certain objects that you put in, certain icons, if you have the ability to change the corners of them, if you go to your drop-down property with the text input selected, and I come on down, there is this property called radius. Now, if you don't see radius for the object you have, then this isn't an option for you because not all objects have this property. But I'm going to go with radius top right. So the radius is currently 5. The bigger the radius, the more rounded it will be. So I'm going to turn that into, I'll do it really big to start with, an 80. Oops, let's get the 8 in there, 80. So we can see here it does this really big turn. So I'm going to do, I know which ones I like when I usually use search boxes. I like 30s. 30s are pretty good. And so I come over here, that looks good here, but I'm also going to put a 30 for the bottom right radius. So I'm come over here, radius bottom right, and I'm going to turn that into a 30 as well. And you do what you want, but I kind of like that little, gives it a little bit. I don't round out everything. I kind of keep that straight as is. And so I kind of like what we've got going here. One thing that we might want to do is, because this is text input, and I know that I might be using this for code later to reference, I'm going to come over and rename. Instead of text input 1, I'm just going to call this the search bar. This is my search bar. Now, if I was going to have multiple search bars, I would say search bar for students or whatever the case might be. But search bar looks pretty good to me. One other thing I think I might do, because blue, I know we've got blue right here right now for these, but this is going to change in a few sessions later. I kind of want to match this with one of our other colors that we've used, this border outline. So I got the text input selected, and I want to change the border around it. So if I come over to my control property, there should be one for border. We got border color, border style, and thickness. I just want to change the color. And so I want to call upon one of our colors that we defined as a variable. So again, if you want to check those variables out, because it's been a while, it's been 2 weeks. So if I go to view and I click on variables, this is just, these are the 2 variables that we stored. We stored 2 colors, the JWJ main green and the JWJ secondary. So let's see if any of those look good as the actual border color. So I'm going to come up here to the border color formula bar. I'm calling on that variable, which I named var as the identifier. So I'm going to go with var. And let's go with secondary. We haven't used that one yet. Let's see what that looks like. So that secondary color, it's got that really highlighty green, that neonish green. I think I might use that maybe a little bit later. So let's see if the other color looks just a little bit. Let's go with the var JWJ main green. Let's see if that looks a little bit better. And looks a little bit better. I like that. So we're going to keep that. So we've started with the search box. Now, the whole goal is that we want this gallery to be searchable from here. Well, how do we do that? Well, the first thing we have to do is select the gallery. So I've got the whole gallery selected. And I want all these items in here to be searchable. So what I do is I come over to the control property, and I'm going to come down to items. And right now it's saying, hey, the items is everything in the student info. Well, I want to be able to search. So in order to search, we're going to actually have to write some code. And the code is really nice because it's actually search. So that's the first one underneath. If I hit tab, it automatically picks up the first code, so to speak, underneath my bar. So I'm going to go to search. I'm going to do a little zoom in here for you. Now it says, okay, what's the source? What data source are you searching? Well, we're searching the student information. So I'm going to start typing in student. The first one is student info at the top. So I hit tab, makes it much easier to go with. Now it says, okay, well, where's this text going to come from? Well, this text is actually coming from what we named the search bar. So I'm going to say it's coming from the search bar. Let's see if that pops up. So search bar, I'm going to hit the down arrow to get to it, tab it over. And then I got to say dot text. It's the text in the actual search bar. So that's what that coding is going on with right there. And then if you take a look, it says, oh, what you just wrote is going to produce the data type of text. And that's what we want to pull out of it, a text data type. Now we go, okay, well, once you put that in, what columns do you want me to look for this? So when someone types something in, where do you want me to try to find those matches? And I want you to try to find it from the column of name, because that's where we are searching. We're searching the students' names. And let's close it off and hit enter, and we should be in business. Now, we don't know if we're ready to go yet because we actually have to test this out. So the way that we can preview apps, we can come up to the top and hit the play button. You can also hold down the Alt key and try to start typing things in as well, but I don't like to do it that way because I don't like holding down extra keys. The way I like to do a preview is I just simply click F5 and it puts me in preview state. So let's search for somebody. Let's search for Jack. So Jack, and now look, this is great. It is searching and it's not looking for identical matches, but anything that has Jac is to be in the name itself, which we have Jack and if we have Jacob. But let's just say I type in C. Notice the C can be anywhere in the name. So the search isn't a match for match. It's looking for any occurrence of that in the name field. It's not case sensitive, which is nice. So this is working out pretty nicely. We can start doing an actual search rather than having to scroll through all of the names, which I know there's not much here, but in a real instance, there really would be. So again, let me go put that code again so you can see it. The code that we did for our gallery, so the items we wanted to display comes from searching from the search bar text, and you're looking for what it matches up with the name. Now you might be saying, well, what if we don't want to, let's say for your scenario, you want to be able to search over two separate columns. Can that be done? Yes, it can be. So I'm going to come up here, I'm going to give it another column. So I'm going to say, look for this occurrence either in the name column or in the grade column. Obviously, so now we click F5 again. If I'm looking for, if we just type in C again, we're good there, any name with C. But obviously the grade level only contains numbers. So we would need to put in a number. So let's put in the number 6. And now we see only our 6th grade students. If I go 8, only our 8th grade students, etc. So searching can go over multiple columns, which is a nice little feature there. All right, we only have a few more things to go over in this session and we're done. So we've got a search bar. Now let's add a little bit more pizzazz to this. I want to put an actual Trojan icon in here. And so what I'm going to do, I'm noticing that the height of this Trojan check-in app, the rectangle header, looks to be a little bit too tall. So I'm going to skinny that up to give us more room. And then I'm going to also take the Trojan, and I'm going to move this up a little bit. All right, that's looking a little bit better, so that's going to give us some more room for the gallery itself. And my goal is I'm going to put an image right here. So I know that I'm going to need to skinny up my search bar. So I'm going to put in an icon right here. And this image has been saved to my computer. So this is a little bit different. You might think, oh, if I want to go to Insert Media and Insert Image, that's how you would actually do it. And we could, but the way that I get it into the actual Power App program is we come over here and we click on the media icon. When I click on the media icon, now I can actually upload one of my locally saved files, not something that's in a separate data source connection that I have. So I'm going to click on upload. And again, you can see all the different files you can upload. And I'm going to put in this JWJ, the prep. So I'm going to hit on, got that. I'm going to click on open. And now we see it's not in the app yet. The only way to get in the app is I select it, and now it's in the actual app. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'll bring it over here so you can see, I'm going to go, instead of image position fit, I like to do the image position of fill. And that's your choice, but if you like the fit, that's fine. You know what, maybe I'll go with fit this time. So that way I get to actually see the whole thing. And I'm going to skinny this down some. Let's put it up here. I'm going to skinny it down a little bit more. Let's see what the preview looks like. It's looking pretty good. Pretty good, I like that. Okay, cool. Now, just something to show you, and we're going to undo this in just a second. But a lot of times I see when developing apps, people like for some of their objects to be at the same height level, meaning we're not going to do it. I don't want it this way, but let's say I wanted the search box to always be at the very top, to be in line with the top of the actual image I put in. So I could try to do that on my own. Let me come back out here, where we just take this and I kind of move it up above where I think it should go. One other way is I could actually select the image I want it to be in line with, and I can come over and look at the properties and see what the position is. So I see the position, the Y position is at 110. So if I put the Y position of my search box at 110, it should match up perfectly which it does. It matches up perfectly with the 110. You might be going, no, it doesn't, because there's some gray. Well, remember, I didn't do the fill. I did the fit, so it's just going to be a little bit above it. So for purposes here, let me change this back to fill. And now you definitely can see that they're at the exact same height here. But let's say you don't want to have to do that every single time, where you look at this image, you find the Y spot, and then you put the exact same Y spot here. Well, here's another way that we can do this. So I'm going to move this down, way down here, just to be crazy, okay? But in the end, what I want is I want this to be lined up height-wise here. And here's how we're going to do it. I'm going to go back to my tree view, and we're over here. And what I want to do is I want to hard code in, not hard code, I want to reference the Y value of this image. So what I do with the search bar, that's what I'm trying to change, I'm going to go to its Y property, just like I would have done over here. But here's the cool thing we can do. So now I'm at the Y property. So the Y property is currently 384. Well, I want this number to change anytime this image changes. So I'm going to reference that image, which has an awful name right now, image 1. But since we only have one image, that's okay. And what do I want to know about image 1? I want to pull back or reference its Y value. And notice what happened. Let me get rid of that for a second. My search bar is nowhere near here. But the minute I put the Y, it pops up perfectly with that exact spot, because that is the Y value it is now referencing. So that is something that you can do when you want to move multiple objects. So watch what happens. Here's the image. I move it, and the search box moves as well. And it gives me that exact same Y value. So pretty neat to do. You can even put in codes here to where it could be Y plus 2, so it's always a little bit hanging above it. We're not going to do that. So I'm going to get rid of that for the future. And we're just going to take that off, and then I'll just move it on my own. So that is what we are done with for this session. We talked about how we can search a gallery with doing some code, talked about changing color formats, inserting images by getting them from a local file. And we got some good stuff going. Now you might be thinking, well, the next best thing, or maybe, let me show this part here. Let me just search for grade level 6. All right, and let me go with grade level 7. And so what we see is that these are being sorted for us alphabetically based on a name. So JRS, so far so good, and they're doing it ascending. And you might be wondering, can I change the way things are sorted for me? And yes, you can. And that is something that we will talk about in our second session, along with a few other things. In our fourth session, because this is session 3. In our fourth session, we're going to talk about how we can change the sort order of a gallery, and we're going to start making some new screens. We're going to get away from just the first screen. We're going to get into the second screen, where we can start making new records and editing them. I hope this video was helpful, wasn't too much. If you have any comments or questions, please put them down below. I'd love to help out on your journey of making Power Apps.